Hello, welcome to the Recruitment Reimagined podcast, executive podcast, where we unpack the future of recruitment powered by AI and people. I'm Ian Knowlson, and today we have a great guest, Simon Bucknell. I've known Simon now for coming up for 10 years, Simon. But today is a special day. Simon's been in the industry 30 years, but today is the 22nd anniversary of him setting up EMBS, which is a multi-sector recruitment business based in the East Midlands, doing tech, engineering recruitment, and been doing it for a number of years now, do permanent and contract. Simon and I have known each other and kept in touch for quite a few years, because one of the things I love about Simon is he's a forward-thinking exec. He knows about what's going on. He's at the leading edge, the front edge, and he's very much into helping his clients do personal branding, which we'll come and talk about later. But welcome, Simon. Good to see you. How's things?
Great to be here at 22 Ian today on a beautiful, hot, sunny day. So yes, feels like it's gone in a heartbeat, as it does. You know, lots of things have happened in that time. But recruitment is in such a different place, isn't it now? Between, you know, you've been in it a long time as well.
It is. It's very different, actually. And you've shared a post today, which you were talking about a minute ago, which I did find fascinating. You've imagined writing a letter to your 22-year younger self, which you must have been just out of college in those days, then, Simon. And
well, I appreciate that. You know, I do have youthful good looks still, but no, we set the business up 7 years after we started in the recruitment industry. We felt like a lot of those recruitment founders that we knew everything about recruitment until we started a recruitment business. And of course, most recruitment people are good at recruitment, then they realize they've got to run a business, and that's a whole different skill set. But yeah, we set the business up. Well, I was 29 when I set the business up, and life came along, kids came along, and it's incredibly difficult, isn't it, to juggle your life, your personal life, your family life, and be an ambitious business owner looking to scale all at the same time. It's hugely challenging. I think technology is going to, or has had a part to play in that, and will have a part to play in that. And of course, you and I are talking about AI today and how that might impact productivity. Just thinking back to the letter that I would have sent myself, you know, from 25 to 23, my 2003 self just would not have been able to have believed what is happening in this space right now, obviously. And you know, when I reflect on the fact that Facebook, Amazon, Tesla wasn't around, and also, you know, the iPhone hadn't been invented yet, for God's sake. This is unbelievable technology that we've witnessed in our professional careers, and things that we just take for granted. And now we've got this AI revolution coming along.
I know. And you guys have been looking at it for a couple of years now. You've been, you know, as we talked off a minute ago, you've been looking at implementing it. You're now starting to use it. You know, please tell us a little bit, without sharing commercial sensitive stuff, what you've been doing and what you're doing and how it works.
Do you know, I think I came into it in a really bizarre way, because you highlighted the personal brand development piece. What I ended up doing, because in tech, obviously, the market's been so challenging, I started to do a lot of work with technology leaders, C-suite, CIOs, CTOs, who had found themselves in really tricky places. And we, you know, you have to accept that in IT and in that leadership layer, there are still lots of people that are out of work. And I sensed that they just did not know how to convey their story. And on these really amazing personal brand sessions that I was doing with leaders, I needed a tool that would give me that storytelling ability, that brand ability. And I started to use ChatGPT. And what I did on those sessions, I had multiple screens open. So I had LinkedIn, I had their CV, had them. And I started to use ChatGPT to just come up with great concepts and ideas in the moment, to help somebody really figure out who they truly were and what their value was, really, and helping them to reconnect with that. For the first probably 4 months, I didn't tell anybody that I had ChatGPT on the call. It was like my little dirty secret. But then after a while, I started to share my AI screen with CTOs. Like, these are people that are seriously switched on people. And for a lot of the time, they were developing technology roadmaps. They'd not seen ChatGPT in action. They were quite a long way away from it. And I started to become just really good at prompts and really good at getting things out of it. Because I kind of, as you know, as a recruiter with all this experience, you can amplify your knowledge using AI. So I was able to get some incredible things out of it. And then from that, I started to take it back into the business, back into my team, and then slowly but surely educated them around the basics of how to use ChatGPT for everyday recruitment. Not quite automation, but just getting to the outcome that much quicker.
And what sort of things in those early days were you using, or were they using ChatGPT for?
The first thing, of course, is about how to anonymize a CV, how to take details out of a CV, how to format CVs. You know, as recruiters, to take a PDF document and try to format it was an absolute nightmare, old school, right? So to be able to just really wash content, documentation through and present it in a way that was much more accessible and insightful to our clients, it was a really great thing. And of course, not to go down too much a rabbit hole here, but you know, CVs are full of bias moments, aren't they? Location, name, age, gender, etc. To be able to remove that bias really quickly in a very, very fast kind of automated way was the first kind of point where we went, hold on a minute, you know, the team can really, really get on here. And I think what's really interesting about that is that the tech community, the IT people have been great at, you know, formatting documents. You take that into an engineering shop floor, and it's a whole different ball game. You know, they are just not as tech savvy, with the greatest respect. So, you know, we've been able to take content from them and create documentation and then present that to our clients really quickly.
Do you know, it's fascinating that, Simon, because I mean, I'll confess, I've been in recruitment 40 years this year. And in that, I mean, I was talking to a group of young people the other day, and they were, funnily enough, they were fascinated. I felt like my father-in-law used to tell my children about, you know, living through the Second World War, because, you know, their eyes were like this. And, you know, and in those days, people didn't have computers, word processors, as we called them in those days. So we used to interview people using standard practices, face-to-face, and then we'd produce a resume that we would dictate to a dictation machine, and one of our secretaries would type it up, and then you'd correct it and everything, send it back. You know, that's where I was 40 years ago. And, you know, I look at where we are today and what you're doing, and in a funny, bizarre way, technology has moved on, but the process is still the same, isn't it?
It is. And, you know, what's just to kind of jump ahead a little bit here, I went on a tech walk. We do a tech walk. So we take tech leaders on walks in the Derbyshire Peak District. We get to know them. We give them a really interesting experience. And I was on a tech walk on Friday with a guy whose son is building an AI company, but he's specializing in interview agents. So that's the sweet spot for him. His view is that through that first initial screening process, you just won't talk to a human. And actually, you'll be comfortable with that because the AI intelligence will be so good that you'll be okay with it capturing that information. I mean, it's not as if you're going to speak to a robot. You'll have an engagement and interaction, which is very palatable, hopefully. And it will capture that baseline first line screen that recruiters do all day long. You know, the old school resourcer. Let's get them to learn through the first line screen, and then we go from there. That, for me, I feel is a challenge in the recruitment industry because we've grown our own through those processes. You know, so the question is, how is that going to impact the learning and development in recruitment? And not only in recruitment as well, by the way, across the board. You know, those administrative roles that we all cut our teeth on as kids back in the day, they are going, and that is a real concern. I do a lot of work in the apprenticeship space, and even the apprenticeship providers are really struggling with that concept. But back to the point, you know, these AI agents are going to be here very quickly. And I think one of the things that we're going to see is, of course, and everybody's talking about the less transactional approach in recruitment. That's a classic example of what is probably only maybe a year or 18 months away, as you know, based on the conversation I had.
So you talked about where you were at the beginning. Where, you know, can you give us a little bit of an insight as to where your guys are now?
Well, look, it's no secret that inside ChatGPT and inside Gemini, you can create small automations. You know, in Gemini, you can create gems, and in ChatGPT, you can create custom GPTs. So, you know, you've got the providers in the marketplace that have come to market very quickly that are the so-called recruitment providers. But actually, what they're doing is only kind of what you can do with custom GPTs and gems if you're able to prompt engineer the thing that you want to do within your organization. So we've been rolling out gems. So we've been rolling out small automations that will help us through the recruitment process, whether that be in the CV format, submission, send out space, or whether that is, an internal process that we're looking to automate. It's capturing information inwardly and then it's spitting out better quality content outwardly. We have now a dedicated person in our organization, which perhaps 5 years ago would have been an operations person. They're now AI standards and operations, and that's their job. Everybody in our team that has a AI-based, automation-based requirement, that goes through to the individual, that person, they bring that to me, and we filter through those workflows and then sign off the changes that we're going to make. That is a weekly meeting now, and I meet my team twice monthly to talk about how we're going to implement those things.
Wow. So just let me read that back to you in the way I heard it. So what you're saying is you have a process which is constantly evolving almost bi-weekly with your meetings, where you're adapting it this way, that way. So you're taking in what you've learned in the same way as ChatGPT is learning from its iterative process, and you're redesigning the service offering you're giving to your clients on a weekly basis in the same way as my iPhone is being updated, overnight while I'm asleep with the next version of, iOS, whatever it is, 3.7 or 7.9. Somebody will probably correct me, but yeah, it just does it. I don't need to know.
I think it's 18.3, just to be really geeky.
That's probably about right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm very lucky in that we have a small, smart team of people. And that's because the market's tough and we want to be lean and mean and drive productivity in our people through using technology. It's a deliberate thing. We've hired people that are smart because they have the intellectual horsepower to understand how to use technology. They're not coming from IT backgrounds. They're not got a computer science degree. They're just savvy, smart young people, and that makes me feel a bit old. But say young, we're into our 40s. Anyway, they're young. And the most important thing here, I think it's a cultural thing, is that they're not scared of having a go. They're also not scared of putting an idea to the board. And I think that it is an AI thing, but it's a cultural, psychological safety, cultural thing, which says, you know what, if you've got an idea and you think we can save some time and improve some quality and improve the experience for candidates or clients, come and talk to me and let's figure it out. But the ironic thing is, if you were to go to ChatGPT and say, create a new documentation concept for a small technology and engineering recruitment business, it would probably give you the information anyway.
It's interesting you say this and what you're doing, because a couple of years ago, through one of my travels, I was introduced, I think virtually in those days, because I think we were still in lockdown, to a lady called Dr. Nadia, and I'm going to try and pronounce her surname, but if I tell you she comes from Uzbekistan, you'll appreciate. But I think it's Zembayevia, something like that. But she's better known as the Reinvention Queen. She's from Columbus, Ohio, and she's a doctor, obviously. And her students and her have done some research, and what they observed was the business models that organizations had in the 20th century had a typical shelf life of, wait for this, Simon, 60 to 70 years. So if you think about it, Henry Ford made his cars in 1910 in roughly the same way as he was making it in the 1980s. And what they said was, when we moved into the 21st century, the average business model life had shrunk to about 10 to 15 years. So you think about what you started talking about earlier today, and you were talking about inventions that didn't exist, and now they're part of everyday life, the iPhone and the smartphone being one. And she's now observed that since we went into the 2010s, that has shrunk down to 5 years. The prediction is that the average shelf life of a business model today is 3 years. And the reason she calls herself the Reinvention Queen is that she believes that the only way to thrive through this level of business chaos is to be constantly innovating. It's not a let's do it now and then do it again. It is you need to be constantly adapting in your processes. And here we are, Simon Bucknell, EMBS, and the team. reinventing your recruitment process and your service model on a bi-weekly basis, or at least reviewing it and having to do it. I mean, that's the leading edge.
It's a great point. I think we've always attempted to continually stay ahead of the competition and stay ahead of the game. But even in 2003, when I was less wrinkly than I am now, I still believed then, and I still believe now, that talent solutions are not just a bum on a seat was always the direction of travel for me. I always wanted to help my clients recruit better, maybe recruit better directly themselves. And in doing that, open up great dialogue and great relationships, provide some solutions and services around there. Because my belief has always been that recruitment companies get paid to find the tough, hard to find skills.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a really important point, because if the recruitment companies are surviving on low-hanging fruit, the easy to find candidates, the advert response, they are the ones that are going to die. The ones that are going to survive are the ones that are building deep, intelligent talent pools, and they're utilizing AI to do that. The thing that AI is going to do over the next few years is going to provide unbelievable levels of intelligence to recruiters. So, for example, there may be a team of software developers that are all getting a little bit nudgy because they were going to get appraisals, and the appraisals have been parked. And they're now all sort of slowly updating their LinkedIn profiles and social media. They're logging in a little bit more than they used to. They're accessing certain cookies and certain things. The algorithms are picking up on that. And the AI is getting involved and saying, Simon, you're a recruiter. There are 14 full stack devs in this company that in the next 2 weeks are going to start looking. Get in there now. We've had the intel. Get in there now. Now, the work involved in doing that as a recruiter today is 14 calls. But you're just going to get the report. And the report is going to state exactly what it is that you need to do. And obviously, quite a lot of that will already be automated, because the outreach will be going out in an automation kind of way. And then what will happen is you'll just get to utilize your hopefully fantastic capabilities to build the relationships and to kind of slowly eke and guide and support them out of where they are and then place them somewhere else. So all of that automation piece is literally going to just land in an email or in a message. And you're like, well, I know what I'm doing today. AI's told me who I'm talking to. So right. Incredible things coming down the track.
And are you already doing some of these things now without sharing commercial sensitivity? I mean, are you making money as a result of these ideas, concepts that you're talking about?
I don't think that the tech is anywhere near that vision yet. I mean, you just have to look at LinkedIn Recruiter to see what a terribly old-fashioned platform that really is. The money that LinkedIn are making out of us poor recruiters, and yet nothing is being pulled back in. The AI inside LinkedIn is awful. And it's, I think I'd love to see anybody in our industry that's saying anything different to that. All the little AI prompts are terrible. So we're not quite ready to kind of get there yet. I mean, a lot of that is big data, and it might be that some of the big recruitment businesses are looking at investing in how they're going to utilize their data, big data sets, big data intelligence, reporting, and AI. Honestly, I don't think our industry are there yet. To answer your question, we're not monetizing that yet. But what we're able to do is everyday cool things around onboarding jobs, using transcripts on calls intelligently, and how we're going to mobilize those things really quickly. The big opportunity in the tech recruitment or in the recruitment space, I see it at the moment, which I don't see anybody solving. So if you hear any of this, people that you're watching, please get in contact with me. It's about converting voice calls, multi-platform voice calls. So that could be a soft phone, a mobile, a traditional handset, taking that call transcript, multi-platform, and then integrating that into the CRM. I don't think anybody has got there quite yet. What that means is no more note-taking, no more data input. And it means that AI can hit that transcript immediately, feed that into the candidate submission process. That automation there is the biggest automation I see in recruitment in the next couple of years.
That's fascinating, because I do hear people saying they've got that, but it's a little bit more clunky than you're saying. So they've used, I don't know, Sembly or Otter AI, and they've recorded it. They take that transcript and they literally cut and paste it and stick it in their CRM. So you've got that. Now you're saying you've tried that and it doesn't work. So I'm fascinated.
Well, there's very, very little integration.
Right.
So what you don't want to do is copy and paste something from somewhere else to then put into a CRM and open lots of fields and lots of, you don't want that. You want it straight out the call, straight into your CRM. And I don't think, from what I can see, that people have really nailed that yet. And if they have, it will be in the bullhorn marketplace, as it always is.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, so you know our good friend Toby. We brought him to see you a couple of months back. So since we last saw you, Toby's employer that he was working in recruitment, and we probably shouldn't say who that is, he and they have parted company. I think they are no longer trading, although I don't know precisely, today's the 1st of May, whether that's happened or not. But he's going to go out on his own. He has to make a living. So he's created his own recruitment business. He spent the last 2 or 3 weeks looking at this exact problem. He tends to agree with you, which is why he's doing it a different way. Because what he says to me is, Ian, I can solve the problem, but what I can't solve is the integration with the CRM, because the CRMs are not structured and ready to take that solution. So I said to him, okay, so what have you done? And he says, I've created a new CRM.
Absolutely. And one of the great things about that is the smaller players can mobilize much quicker than the bigger players.
Absolutely.
The first organization that can convert voice calls into transcripts, into AI, into a system that create that automation will take serious market share. I'm up for it. We use a product that is nowhere near that.
So I have a friend, an ex-colleague, because everyone knows I used to work for Hayes. This should remain anonymous because I'm not sure how much of this I can share. But anyway, that person has left Hayes recently and has worked for a major global engineering company to support them doing a purchase of a new RPO service from one of the major players. We're talking one of the big boys globally. And it's a global solution. It's global RPO. And what she was telling me in the demonstration she had from the big boys, and we're talking, top 5 or 10 engineering recruitment companies globally, was that one of the solutions, in fact, I thought initially it was theoretical. She said, no, I've seen it live, is you can imagine you're a candidate, you're in Texas, you're looking for a job, and you call up the internal talent team. You then describe what you're doing. And as you are talking and describing your experience, the AI is looking at what you do and is then searching the internal database for past jobs that match your profile, future jobs that are coming up through the profile, and basically saying, so while you're doing in real life, you're talking to me about your jobs, this report is coming through on the other screen, as you would put it. And well, we have a job coming up in Houston, a bit down the road from you. You're in Dallas, it's in Houston. It's this, it's working on this. Is that something that could interest you? Oh, you want to move, you'd like to travel a bit. Where do you fancy? UK, Europe, Australasia, Asia Pac? Okay, you fancy the UK. Well, there's a job in Derby going in the next year. And it's that kind of interaction that she's seen working live. The productivity, she says, is between 5 to 10-fold. They've already got it working. And therefore, she feels for the global RPOs, the price point will drop quite quickly. So therefore, the challenge for the niche recruiters is, okay, so how do you combat that? And it was interesting because I was at an AppSco meeting the other week and I was talking in the breakout with somebody who's ex-S3 and with a couple of people who are not ex-S3. And the S3 guy's like, well, it's very simple. They'll just get good at finding people with certain skills and sticking them in holes. But that's the S3 model. That was the model in the 1990s. Find a rare skill, spec him out, talk to everybody, send it. The others were saying, they ain't going to work that way. And he's like, well, why not? And he says, because most businesses now, when they lose 2 or 3 people, they're not automatically replacing them with what they just lost. What they're actually doing is saying, well, these 3 jobs, is there any similarity there? Could we automate some of one? Could we augment another one? Could we and what you end up with is either 1 or 2 jobs, but they're different jobs and they require different skill sets. And that requires a consultant who understands where all those 3 people come from and where that talent exists. And for me, when he was telling me all this about engineering jobs, I was immediately thinking of you, Simon, because that's what your business is already geared to do. Your guys are consultants. They talk to their clients. They understand the client's business model.
Absolutely. I mean, that is an amazing point you raised there, Ian, around, and I can relate to that because I've been working with a client over the last 9 months, and I'm on a call with the client, and the client is telling me what he thinks he needs. These roles don't exist. Okay, this is a brand new commercial team in the UK startup, and he's spitballing ideas. I'm capturing it on Otter AI on a transcript, and he needs my experience to help him create the job. And because of AI and because of data, and that's what kind of where these roles are, I'm thinking to myself, well, I know candidates that kind of do a little bit of that, and candidates a little bit of that. Off the back of the call, I'm then massaging that transcript into a JD using 30 years of recruitment experience. And what I'm then doing is presenting the CV to the client. It might look like a data engineering role, but it's actually got a little bit of a twist. And then the client's saying, I'm going to take that to the board, we'll get that signed off. It comes back, it's signed off, and we go and look at trying to find the person for it. That's a brand new created 2025 role. It's exactly what you've just said. And without AI, I would have struggled to have articulated what that role would look like. It would have taken me many, many days. It's taken me 40 minutes, an hour and a half to pull that together. And the client, I mean, just between you and me and everybody else is watching, it's blowing their mind. Okay, they're on a call from me, and they are getting a oven ready, fully baked, beautiful JD, shiny with a ribbon on top, in an hour and 20 minutes that they're presenting to the board, logoed up, right? They're like, wow. And what's been amazing about what Kelly and I have done is we've gone and then filled those roles.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, they were bloody hard, right? But what's been amazing about it is just how proud you feel when you created something out of thin air and you've actually put a human being in the role.
Yeah.
Just to pick up your point, Ian, which I think is really interesting. If you use AI and ChatGPT a lot and you have the memory element turned on, it learns about you, obviously. Most people know that about AI. One of the funny things you should do is ask AI what it knows about you, because it will give you the most incredible information. Knows your kids' names, what color you like, what you like to eat. Obviously, I don't know about you, but I run all my Google searches now through AI. So it's getting a memory of everything that I'm interested in, everything that I'm looking for. But if you apply that logic into job seeking logic, the AI will know your skills, your capabilities, your what you do, what sector you work in, the domain, etc. My belief is that AI will apply for the job with the AI that you've been talking about without any interaction from a human being whatsoever. I mean, we know that's happening already, but the AIs will work for you so you don't have to, with unbelievable levels of intelligence.
Do you remember, as a young man, watching Blake's 7?
Well, just about. I'm a little bit younger than you, Ian.
Yeah, I know, about 20 years, so that's fine. Blake 7, they were traveling the unknown universe, and they had a computer that was called Auric, I seem to remember, or Aurac, and it was like your personal assistant. And the more we talk about it, the more I think, wow, we are moving into that world where AI. I mean, what you just said to me, you've described to me a world in which I just say to my artificial assistant, I need to find another job. Can you go and find me some? And actually, by lunchtime, it's applied for 7 for me. And by tomorrow morning, I've got 2 interviews. And it's like, I haven't even had to do anything yet.
I mean, that's
like, wow.
I actually think we're pretty much there already. But I think the only bit is, at the moment, you've got to kind of start pressing some buttons. But we are, 9 months or 12 months away from literally coming back. But the thing is, the AIs are going to engage with each other, and the AIs are going to make decisions as to whether there's levels of suitability there. It's going to remove quite a lot of kind of bias.
It may do. Depends. It's interesting. I mean, we're sort of having to come to the end of our sort of half an hour or so. Let's use the or so today. And I'm fascinated. You've just described something to me which I genuinely am 100% on the bus with you. I do think it's one of the futures for our recruitment industry. You've just described going in, speaking to an engineering company, creating a brand new job that did not exist, going out to market, finding those candidates who can fill that job, and then filling the job. That's a new service. That's a service which has huge value to that small engineering company. And that is worth 50, that's worth a 20% fee, 30% fee, whatever you want to call, however you break that up, whether you charge a upfront fee for putting the job, doing the market research and everything else. That is recruitment reimagined in a way. For me, that's adding value to society rather than have I got a high value product I can hawk around the market to the highest bidder, which is it's not the same value, is it really? Fascinating.
No, it's not. But I love your vision, which is going to be complicated, and especially in a market which is challenged, where they might want to merge elements of multiple roles. And we get this already in recruitment. It's like, oh my God, you want three people in one person.
Yeah.
We've all seen those job descriptions.
Yeah.
But I think when you throw AI into the job roles of those people, and you use AI to try to understand and navigate those skill sets, those job families, those competencies, those technical skills, as long as the client is open to wrapping the right L&D around that individual, because nobody's going to be perfect from the get-go. But if they want to drive that change, they want to amalgamate those roles, that they care about their people, there's going to be a lot of that type of activity going on. And I still believe that it will take experienced recruitment people in their domains, in their specialist areas, to help the clients navigate through that. Meanwhile, that transaction layer, that old school first line screen resourcing layer, is going to disappear. And if you're watching this, and I don't mean to scare the pants off you, but if you are watching this and you've been surviving on low hanging fruit and ad response for the last 15 years, you are going to have to reimagine what you do very, very quickly. And the funny thing is, Ian, I've seen quite a lot of press recently, maybe like you have, Robert Half, Hayes, their share price has fallen through the floor. We've seen this idea that more and more recruitment businesses are going through an insolvency process, and we're blaming the market, we're blaming AI. And that may be the case, but I do think there is a shift and a change happening here, which is around those organizations that have been surviving in that layer. They're the ones that are going to really struggle, and they're the ones that are going to really struggle to turn it around. And I wish them the very best, but I'm very pleased that we're having this conversation about trailblazing ideas. And I would recommend to any small recruitment business, go into your team tomorrow and find the person who will be the AI champion in your company and give them that job. Find them. It needs to be a detailed person. It needs to be an organized person. It needs to be a tech-savvy person. Every recruitment company should have a dedicated AI stakeholder in the business. If you can get that bit right, everything else hangs off that.
Simon, do you know what? An awful lot of information in there that we could use and pick up. And I'd love to talk again in a few months' time, find out where you are in your journey. Because if you're reinventing yourselves every 2 weeks, who knows where you'll be. Well, it's amazing, but thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Ian.
Let's keep in touch, and it will be good to talk to everybody in a couple of weeks' time. So thank you very much. Have a great holiday weekend.
Thank you. Good luck with all of your plans that you've got, for all the amazing things that you do, and your massive contribution to the recruitment industry over all of these millennia. So thank you for that. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye.